Hey guys, it's Curtis Cockrell here. I'm a recovery advocate, an interventionist, a lover of travel and music, and a father of two.
Welcome, y'all. I'm the Gratitude Junkie, Chris Poundmore. I'm a gratitude conductor, author, and digital creator. My most favorite thing to do is creating digital gratitude art with the voices, images, and stories of other people. This is
Gratitude and Sobriety.
With over 50 different perspectives and stories on gratitude, this book captures what most books don't. The secret sauce is in the number of voices and stories where you'll be sure to find a personal connection to so many as I did. A really excellent book, David Freeman. Found exclusively on Amazon.com.
Well, hello. Welcome, everybody. This is Chris with Gratitude Space and Radio, and this is a Gratitude and Sobriety episode. I've got my friend Curtis that I believe is in Florida right now.
Yes, I am in Florida. I'm in the Orlando area.
So, how are you doing there, Curtis? How it's been 2 weeks, I think, since we've done a little face-to-face here. So how you doing?
I'm doing well. I got back from LA last night and doing a quick turnaround here in Oviedo, which is where my spot is here in Florida. And we are headed to Mississippi for the holidays tomorrow for a week. And, hopefully all goes well with COVID and travel. And I've traveled a significant amount during all of this. And Delta Airlines has been really good about distancing on the plane. I didn't have very favorable experiences with a couple of other airlines over the summer, but I mean, it sucks. I was just looking at, I just got a little news, whatever the news ticker is that comes across, and LA is doing a mandatory curfew starting at 10 p.m. to like 5 a.m. or something. So I think everything's about to start locking back down, which, it's just where we're at right now.
Yeah, no, I understand, man. I got my wedding coming up next week, and we were having plans, reception plans, and the governor's kind of put a no indoor eating at restaurants. So that kind of puts a little. That's okay. Be flexible, Fortunately, the wedding's not about the reception. It's about the wedding, so it'll be okay. So we were talking about doing a and I just talking to people possibly if they have any ideas, share any ideas for sobriety over the holidays. Do you have any tips to start us off? Anything that you recommend people out there in the world?
Like the idea here is that the holidays are really triggering for a lot of people that are in recovery. Like it's talked about in multiple fellowships frequently, and it's just kind of a known thing that family triggers us, and the holidays, everybody's partying, and it's a tough time to be sober for sure. But there's ways around it, and there's ways to kind of safeguard yourself, or not really safeguard yourself, but there's ways to use tools to avoid or being able to work with your triggers. And I don't know, man. For me, before I got sober, the holidays were always just raging partying. And I mean, absurd drug use and alcohol consumption to the point that it would make me worthless to even be home. I'd sleep all day during Thanksgiving, or I'd still be fucked up from the night before, or I wouldn't sleep the night before, or I would almost get arrested, or I would, fucking smoke crack all night, or just crazy shit. I remember, I can't remember. It was one of the first years I was gone from home, and I came home for, I think it was Thanksgiving, which I think it's pretty well known that the Wednesday before Thanksgiving isn't it always the biggest party night of the year. Essentially, it's the biggest night that bars have every year is the Wednesday night before Thanksgiving.
Hmm.
So we one of those nights, like I've really gotten so lucky so many times. There was a roadblock one of those nights when we were out late, and I had a bunch of drugs on me and money and all kind of shit. And we come up on the roadblock, and fortunately I had everything in like this little bitty bag. So I was able to like throw all these drugs out the window, and all this money was in there. And we went through the roadblock, got through it. Our friends that were behind us got arrested, had to sit in jail all of Thanksgiving. So went back the next day, and like that bag was still on the side of the road. And
oh wow,
I got the drugs back, I got the money back. Which at the time I was like, hell yeah, but you know,
like a holiday miracle.
Exactly. But yeah, it's you know, I know it's tough for families. I know it was tough for my family, for me during those years to like. I know that they were super anxious when I would come home because they knew the drill. It was usually for a long time. It was stay up all night, stay out all night, and then sleep all day, and then do it over for the duration of the trip. And you know, I was sick, and it wasn't fair to them, and it was it was terrifying as a parent. I'm sure it's just I can't imagine like going through that with my kids, which, you know, having the genetic aspect of the disease, it's you know, it's likely that they will experience it in some form or fashion. So I try to like keep the conversation open and you know, let them know what I've been through and what other people in their family have been through, and that it's okay if things come up, and just to like talk to me about it, and just try to give them a safe space to address it if and when it does come up. I talked to a friend earlier that I'd helped get sober a few times, and he's back in recovery, and he's like got like 120 days or something. I reached out to him today and talked to him in a while, and he's just like, yeah, dude, my brother died on Friday, like from something, like from complications related to the disease of alcoholism or drug addiction. And I was just like, oh my God. And I have a relationship with his mom too, just because like through helping him, we'd become close. And, you know, I just texted her, like, I don't even know what to say in those situations, but you know, you hear over and over. And I assume my parents watch this podcast or listen to it. So some of this stuff is definitely probably hard for them to hear, because they've expressed to me like that things are hard for them to hear that I talk about a good bit. But you know, you hear all the time that burying a kid is like the hardest thing that you'll ever go through. And it was an intense day. And I don't know, in those situations, you know, what do you say? It's like what I always say. It's like, how can I be supportive?
Right.
And again, that comes back to like, okay, now that trigger is going to exist during the Thanksgiving holidays every year. And there's so many instances like that are every family has, you know, like people are, you know, whether it be drug related or not, people die all the time. And there's you know, it's just what we have to deal with. We have to deal with the grief. But for me in recovery, like what helps me the most is my daily spiritual practice, which involves, you know, a 12-step program. It involves the things that are included in that program that are like the guidelines to, and I have to be vague here because there's some principles involved that don't allow me to address it directly. But it's all about like sticking to that and like asking for help when I need it, and not like internalizing my struggles, whether it be triggers or whatever the case may be, and reaching out to other alcoholics or going to 12-step meetings or making phone calls to people that have less time than me or making phone calls to people that have more time than me. It's about connection. And doing like what's called contrary action. So it's like today I had like I said, it was an intense day, and I was slow getting going today. After I got the kids to school, or actually I just had Sophia, not Curtis. I came back and just laid around because I'm a little jet lagged. Going from East Coast to West Coast is tough, and I wasn't going to go to my meeting today. But it's in those moments, and you'll hear this from people that participate in these 12-step things. It's like, if you don't think you need a meeting, that's exactly when you need to go to a meeting. It's called having smart feet. So I really didn't want to go, and it was at 5:30, and it got up to like 5:18, and I still hadn't showered, and it's super close, so it's fine. But I jumped in the shower, made it there, got to the meeting, and every time I do that, I'm like, God, what was I thinking? Not wanting to come to this, because it's so therapeutic, and there's such a like catharsis involved in that for me that I always feel better. And a lot of bigger cities have on holidays, like on Thanksgiving or on Christmas Day, will do like round the clock meetings, like 24 hours of meetings, 1 a.m. to 11 p.m. So that's that's really helpful for people that are triggered, and like, if you're early in your recovery, like, more than likely your family is going to be super anxious when you're coming home for the holidays, because they in the past have dealt with so much like chaos and concern and worry, and arrests, or you being sick, or fights with the family that are exaggerated, or not exaggerated, fights in the family that are worse because of my inability to communicate effectively, because when we're in our disease, we just don't have the tools. Like, I didn't learn healthy communication until I got sober, and it's really been one of the greater successes for me of my recovery. It's just like learning how to communicate, and I still struggle with it sometimes, and I'm not anywhere close to perfect with it, but I'm way better than I was, and I'm able to pause when agitated, or I'm able to kind of identify my feelings more and work through them, rather than just react and scream at my family, or eat a handful of pills, or chug a fifth of whiskey, or both actually at the same time. So it's tough, and it's really important going into the holidays for me to have a support system in place, and to have the numbers handy, or to at least have some accountability buddies, or the people in the program that help me, just to be able to reach out when I need to, because things come up. Even when things are perfect, something's going to come up, and it's you never know when you're going to be triggered, and this is like high risk trigger time for most of us in recovery. So yeah, it's tough, man. Just the holidays have always just been, it was a lot of fun for a long time, but that's not saying that I wasn't doing copious amounts of drugs and alcohol. I definitely was, but it was like what they say, it's like, at first it was fun, then it was fun with problems, and then it just became problems. So it was like fun in my early 20s, I guess it was fun in my early 20s, then it was fun with problems from about mid 20s till late 20s, then it was just problems until I got sober at 33. So yeah, it's cool though, because it's really, my drug addiction and alcoholism just fucked everyone else's holidays up, like the whole families, because it's just like I couldn't get my shit together, and I didn't really think that I needed to. And when I am eating pills all the time. I don't even care. I don't even have the awareness to know that I am belligerent or not present or whatever the case may be. But yeah, a lot of people relapse during the holidays. A lot of people, it's a tough time. It's probably the toughest time of the year, and especially given what we're dealing with now, and everyone's been cooped up, and everyone's about to be cooped up again, and it's really tough, and it's super triggering. And you guys, the fortunate ones that can still, drink and do drugs responsibly, get to do all you want to do. And I'm not saying that you drink and do drugs, but there's plenty of people that do, that their lives don't become unmanageable. We call them normies. But yeah, it's for us that can't do them responsibly, and for us that it does make our life completely unmanageable. It's just, until we have this like psychic change or this spiritual awakening, that's like this shift in our perception as it pertains to the obsession to drink and use. People in early recovery that may not have experienced that yet are still like, gimme. And if there's like drinks everywhere, or people are smoking herb or doing whatever else people are doing, it's tough, and it's just easy. All it takes is like just reaching out your hand and like grabbing a joint or taking a drink or doing, again, I don't want to talk too much about hard drugs, but it's definitely prevalent, and it's definitely something that I'm very, very familiar with, because it was lots of hard drugs for a long time, and I'm just super, super grateful that I don't have to deal with that anymore. But I'm just like, I'm as close to doing it again as anyone else, but I maintain this daily practice that gives me this daily reprieve, and I've had this psychic change and the shift in perception that I don't have the obsession to drink and use anymore, and I can be around it, and it's not a big deal. That's not the case with everyone. Some people have to remove themselves from it for extended periods of time, sometimes maybe forever. Like I have people that I know that don't like to be around drugs and alcohol at all, really. That's not me. I'm completely okay being around it, and I know where it goes if I do start doing drugs or drinking again. So it's a no-brainer. But that being said, the disease is so insidious that I can sit here and tell you all this now, but if I get out of my practice, my daily practice, like it'll start to seem like, oh, maybe I could start just drinking again, or maybe I could start just smoking herb, or maybe I could just take LSD and not do any of that stuff. Or maybe I've never really, I remember being in rehab. This is insane. One of the few things I do remember that I was like, all right, and I think I told my one of the people, counselors or therapists or something, I was like, all right, I'll just blow one line of meth a day, and that'll get me through the day, and I'll be okay with just one line of meth. Or and that's just insane behavior, completely insane. I think we're getting some questions. Maybe I'm gonna look at this real quick. Let's see.
Yeah, it says it's Max Bird said he was agreeing that the Wednesday night before Thanksgiving is the big party night. And then you have a friend named Connie Lord that said that love you, Kurt. There, do you see that?
Yeah, let's see. One thing we've been discussing is ways to intervene on substance abuse before a user hits rock bottom, causing long-term damage not only to themselves but people around them, family members, particularly children. I don't know if you're still on here, Connor, but I don't know what the question is there. Or is that just a comment?
Maybe it's just making a statement.
Oh, cool. All right. Yeah, and Birdie agreed with it being the biggest bar night of the year. I'm not sure. I can't tell who is currently on here, but I love you guys both, and you're awesome. It says my mom's watching, so she's probably like biting her fingernails right now because we're headed there tomorrow. But she's, I think she is pretty confident at this point that I'm pretty solid in my sobriety, so that's good.
Yeah, well, you're how many? It's almost 6 years sober. Is that correct? Am I?
Yeah, it'll be 6 years in March.
Yeah, so she's got a lot of reasons to believe that you guys are going to have a great holiday, man. That's great that you get to be at the family and you're going to go see them. And I've known you for I guess 3 months now, and you're going to be with your family. You're going to appreciate being there, and you got that perspective you're talking about. So. And you, like you said, you've got all the tools in your toolbox so that if something occurs, you can go to a meeting or you can contact somebody. But I mean, you seem like you really appreciate your family. So I imagine focusing on just being with your family can keep you in a pretty good state, especially say on Thanksgiving, right?
Yeah, I do. And it looks like my mom just actually chimed in with a question. That's my. Do you see that?
Oh, wow.
Yeah. She said, Kurt, do you remember knowing
Yes, I do. There we go.
prior to abusing alcohol and drugs or not until well into your recovery? I don't remember. I don't remember because I don't remember. And Mom, you know this, like my story with benzos. It's like there's a lot that I just don't remember. I'm sure that I was grateful a lot of the time, but I think a lot of it was drug induced. Like I know that if I was, eating a bunch of opiates or doing a bunch of opiates, that I probably felt super grateful. Or if I had the right cocktail of pills and alcohol in my system, I definitely felt grateful. But no, I don't really remember any kind of like any pure sense of gratitude. I wish that I could say differently, but I don't. Mom, do you remember me having any gratitude prior to, how do you put it, drugs and alcohol or not well into my recovery? And I don't know if you're still listening, Mom, but if you want to answer, if you have any little anecdotes or anything to that effect, that's completely rad and awesome to respond again. Ironically enough, when I was
we're about
sober,
30 seconds ahead. The live stream is 30 seconds ahead, so she'll hear that here in the next minute. Go ahead. Were you saying?
Ironically enough, and I will at some point. I really want to get him on here. So I spent a couple months, like a little over 2 months, in a 30-day program in Oxford because my really extended detox, just due to like severe DTs from alcohol and the withdrawal from benzos, which is like super, really, really dangerous. And I was having like some severe psychosis and hallucinations and delusions and hallucinations and anyway, and some kind of like sleep disorder from coke and meth. But it took me twice as long to get through that. And then I went to sober living in Oxford. So that's 4 months. And so I moved to LA at that point, and I lived in a sober living called Gratitude Recovery, ironically enough. And yeah, I don't think I've ever told you that.
Nice.
I keep thinking to tell you.
No, you hadn't. I remember that.
Haven't. But yeah, Kelly and Annette Seidlitz are the owners there, and I would love to, maybe get them on here one day because they're really, really awesome and really smart and really caring people, and really helped me early on. And I give them a lot of credit for my success earlier in recovery, just because they provided a space for me to heal and to grow in my sobriety. And it was super cool.
They sound amazing. I'd love to have them on the podcast. It sounds like that'd be we could learn a lot from them, and it'd be great to hear their perspective of meeting you there, and Curtis at that time, the whole retrospective of who Curtis was at that time when he was there, and here with you, you being here. I wanted to speak to you. I liked your mom's question a lot, and this last week I actually had somebody ask me, "What's the difference between being thankful and being grateful?" And I hadn't given that too much thought before, but honestly, being thankful is kind of it's an action of being. If you have gratitude, then you'd be being thankful this way. It's like an action, but also, so basically, even if it's for bad stuff, right? So for instance, you could be very thankful for the dope you have, right? It's not a healthy thing, but you could be thankful for it. You could technically be grateful you had it. I don't know if, obviously it's not beneficial to you, just like, I don't like anything else, but to have, you can be thankful without being grateful though, because being thankful is just being an action of saying thanks. So, being grateful is like a state of being. It's a state of, it's something that's with you all the time, opposed to the reactive of I'm just saying thanks for something. So they're two separate things there. So it's interesting though, when people don't really discuss gratitude, like you said, you don't know if, obviously you could say you were thankful for the people you're partying with, the good times, all the drugs, but you weren't thinking, you didn't have a gratitude lifestyle, because the lifestyle of being grateful, it's a little, it wouldn't, obviously, again, you can be grateful for drugs, but the lifestyle of being grateful, you appreciate your life to a certain extent where you wouldn't want to almost be killing yourself every night. So, right, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying somebody can't be grateful and a drug addict. I'm totally not saying that. I'm just saying that when you embrace the idea of gratitude and you can make this a whole encompass, it becomes, well, you want to be healthier so you can be there for your children, or so you can appreciate the holidays, so you can be present and appreciate it. It's about being present, right? Gratitude's all about being present. So don't get me wrong. I mean, I've drank, when we go on benders, we could initially start by having a good time, but then it becomes an escape where you don't even know what's going on, right? At that point, you're completely out of the present moment and you're, wherever you are, right? It's so it's an escape, being completely lost on a drug or anything, right? It's like your escape, you're not in the present moment. So obviously when that hits, it's not a grateful state, right? I guess I'm circling around there, what do you think about that?
I think that, I guess gratitude is in the, the eye of the beholder, for lack of a better term. But that being said, like, if gratitude is presence, then like, I know that some of the drugs I was doing, there's no way to be present. Like, if you're eating fucking 5 Xanax bars a day and like drinking a fifth of whiskey and a 30-pack of fucking PBR and blowing coke and eating fucking 10 Adderalls, there's no way you can be present. There's no way. You can feel like you are, because I felt like I was. If I could get like the fucking perfect buzz, I'm just like, all right, I'm here. This is perfect. Like, and I would, we become our own like chemists and doctors at this point. So it's like, all right, if I can eat 4 milligrams of Xanax when I wake up and 150 milligrams of Adderall and slam 6 beers before I get to work, I'm going to be perfect for the day. And it's just like, that's just like delusional. It's crazy. Like, I remember going to, it was when I had moved back to Mississippi from Charleston, South Carolina. And this happened twice, actually. And my parents were just like, will you please just like try to get help or go see this therapist? And it was this guy, John Raspberry, Dr. John Raspberry. I don't know if he's a doctor. Anyway, he does psychodrama. And I went in there, and it was the first day I met him. And I was like, he's like, he knew my parents, and he was like, so I kind of understand you've got a problem or whatever. And I told him, I was like, dude, I've had like 250 milligrams of Oxycontin today and a bunch of like Valium or Xanax or Klonopin, and I am fine. And he's just like, and I was thinking to myself, like, this is a good thing. And in hindsight, if I'm eating or however I was ingesting or whatever, the oxys or Dilaudid or whatever at that point, and the Xanax, and still be like normal, that kind of tolerance is just very indicative of like a serious drug problem. And I did the same thing with like a few weeks before I got court-ordered to treatment, which is how I ended up in treatment. A judge made me go, because I got arrested several times in a small period of time, and I was just shown grace essentially. And it was like, you can go to jail for a year, or you can go to rehab. And I honestly thought about taking the jail option because that's how sick I was, and I didn't want to get sober. But I went into him and was like, I don't
Did
need
somebody
help.
hold on? Can you talk a little more to that? Did somebody talk you out of it? Did somebody intervene at that moment and it was like, dude, you really should go to rehab right now? I mean, what can you talk a little more to that moment? I mean, it seems like you're just talking now about how insane that was, but what intervenes? Like, did somebody intervene at that moment?
I sat in jail that night and it was like, okay. At that point, I think my parents had gotten wind that I was in jail, and I guess they had called the people that they thought I would call to get me out, and were like, "Don't get him out. We like need to figure out how to get him a nudge from the judge is what they call it, get him court ordered to treatment." So, I spent the night in jail and was like, okay, I'm going to go in front of the judge and then I'll bond out and I'm going to get out of this charge anyway because I'm so on top of my shit. And I'd retained this attorney because I was selling herb, and I was like, I had it all figured out, right? So I went in front of the judge, or I can't really remember how it happened, but I was pulled into the DA's office, who was friends with my parents' attorney. So he had spoken to my parents' attorney and was like, look, you've got a problem. You need to get help. And I'm like, I don't have a problem. This is as I'm sitting there in like shackles and my hands are cuffed behind my back and I'm in, jail fatigue. And I'm just like insisting I don't have a problem and that everything's fine. But he's like, I've talked to the judge and we know you have a problem. So here's your options. He's going to give you the maximum sentence for these 4 minor charges that you got. Or you can, and that's going to be a year in jail. Or whatever it was close to it or something like that. Or you can go to rehab. And I think my parents were in there at that point. It was, and they were at the end of their rope, and I was just like, thought that I'd been set up, but I was like, okay, I'll go to rehab, thinking that I'm going to leave AMA, which is against medical advice. I'm going to figure this out. I'm going to talk to my lawyer and everything's going to be straight. But, I went and it became very evident to me really quickly that there was no getting out of that court order. They were like, if you leave, we're calling the cops immediately and they're going to pick you up from the side of the road and you're going to go to jail and you will serve whatever time that the judge thinks. So it was a whole thing for months and months because it was like, I was like, so what's the court order? Like, because I'm the whole time I'm like thinking in my head, all right, I'll just do the court order and then I'll get out and then I'll be fine and I'll go back to my life. And so the court order kept dragging out because it was per like your treatment team's not suggestions or your treatment team's anyway, per whatever your treatment team thought you should be doing. And treatment team includes your therapist, the doctor, the psychiatrist, your counselor in treatment, everybody that's involved in your recovery, essentially. So they were just like, yeah, dude, you need 16 to 18 months to be okay. And I'm just like, holy shit. And it's just like, I was not happy for a long time. I was really ugly to a lot of people that I really loved. Like, family days went really terribly. My parents came out to California for like a 6-month family day, and I ended up getting up and leaving and saying all these nasty things to them. And I mean, it all took a while to heal from and to recover from, but it all worked out. It definitely all worked out, but it takes a lot of it took a lot of me owning a lot of like really nasty behavior and saying some foul things to my mom and dad, to the point where they had to like set some boundaries and just block me for a while. Because I mean, the shit that I would say to my mom on the phone is just like stuff that I wouldn't say to anyone at this point in my life. So that's been a practice to, that was a practice to work through that and to like make amends to them and to continue to make what's called like a living amends, which is essentially me continuing to do the work so I can stay sober and stay happy and stay level and kind and loving. And it, you know, just because I'm sober now doesn't mean that I don't struggle with things still, and doesn't mean I don't get in shitty moods, or doesn't mean that I don't fight with my parents sometimes, or, you know, argue with the kids or whatever. But I've got the tools now to be aware of it and to quickly own it and to, you know, make that amends really quick. So it is a daily practice and will continue to be for the rest of my life. And I'm really grateful that I even have the opportunity to participate in my own recovery, because it's I'm very, very fortunate to be alive. I'm living on borrowed time for sure.
You know, speaking of that, you know, you know, you're saying you live on borrowed time. I think that, you know, I feel like that's a mindset we should all embrace. And I'm only saying that because, you know, no day is guaranteed. No, your next heartbeat's not guaranteed. And if we can come into a place where we go, you know, this is what you're basically saying when you say I'm on borrowed time is like, this is special. I have this now, right? Because I shouldn't have this. You're basically saying I shouldn't be alive, right? That's basically what you're saying. It's like you shouldn't be alive. And because you get that, you are alive. You can do something about it. You can appreciate life, and you can help people with recovery, and you could, you know, we could be talking here about sobriety, and these are all things that you're getting to do because you have the mentality of going, I'm on borrowed time. This is special. This isn't something I'm throwing away. I'm not going to waste my life because it's, you know. And I've been working a lot with that too in the morning. Just if you can just wake up and say, I'm grateful for being alive. If you can start with the gratitude and just the sense that you are alive, you're going to have a good, you're going to at least start out with the keys to have a good day, you know, to be able to tackle what's coming. You know, I was, you know, so I was reading a chat thing this morning. A friend of mine wrote about, you know, basically ups and downs and, you know, good and bad days. And she basically was like, she said, when will it all stop? You know, in the sense of like, when will all this, you know, this bad stuff stop? And it made me think. And honestly, the truth of the matter is, it's never going to stop. It's just we can only get better at handling it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, because entropy in the world's going to happen, and we can't control it, and bad stuff's going to happen, and obviously we're going to screw up too. But all we can do as individuals is work on ourselves so that we can handle it better.
Yeah.
About being that's it, you know, and that's in anyone's power. So you're talking about sobriety. Obviously, it's in the person's hands to do the best they can at that given moment. You know, to if it's calling somebody, or if it's going to a meeting, or if it's just getting like you know, your friend was talking about having a habit and to start your day that allows you to pivot so that you don't get in the place where you're going to do drugs or take a drink, you know. You know, it's all about us being better as individuals. It's all about us working on us adapting to the world, because I do believe that that the world, unfortunately, you're going to feel like the world is completely telling you have nothing to be grateful for. Be ungrateful. Don't be happy. The world will tell you this all day long. But the amazing thing is, with gratitude, is that we get a choice. You know, it's our choice how we want to perceive things. You know, we could say the sky is falling, or we could look out and say everything is wrong in the world. But at the same time, you know, I'm sitting here with you. I'm having a great conversation. I love hearing you share your stories. I know that you've got a heart. Your heart is your passion for people, and you love your kids, and that you are somebody there for people, and that we're doing this. And this alone is a hopeful thing. This is a good thing, you know. And people are doing stuff like this all over the place, you know. Just like you say, you go to your meeting, you know. And I love the fact that the organization does 24-hour meetings around the holidays. That is beautiful. That is absolutely beautiful. So it's like, you want to think about something to be grateful for. I'm grateful for people that have organizations that are like, look, we know that it's really tough right now, and we're going to be here for the next 24 hours. We're going to make sure somebody's here just in case somebody needs us. I think it's beautiful. I love it.
Yeah, it is. It's great. And, you know, what you're saying in my world is called living life on life's terms. It's like things are going to come up, but it's a matter of how you respond rather than react, and having some tools in place to deal with hardships, to deal with the death in the family, to deal with a breakup, to deal with, you know, unfavorable circumstances, to deal with whatever it is without having to drink or do drugs, which is what we've been hardwired so long to do.
Right.
And getting sober is about reforming these neural pathways in your brain, so you're hardwired to, instead of like, okay, you're stressed and you're going to grab a drink, or you're stressed and you're going to grab a pill, it's now you're stressed and you're going to call your person. And again, I'm trying to be really vague about you're stressed, you're going to call your
Right.
person. You're stressed, you're going to pause when agitated. You're stressed, you're going to pray. You're stressed, you're going to call another alcoholic. All the things that we're taught while our brains are being reprogrammed, essentially, because we spent so long going straight to the drink or straight to the drug to deal with anything that comes up. It's like we drink because we're celebrating. We drink because something bad happened.
Right.
You know, it's like pills, 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 or powders, 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 or whatever the case may be. You know, it's just really about reforming those neural pathways and learning how to deal with triggers, and learning how to communicate what's going on in this overactive brain that we have as drug addicts and alcoholics. And that's not even limited to drug addicts and alcoholics. I completely understand that obsessive thought patterns are not limited to people that suffer from the disease, but we as alcoholics certainly do. So it's like, you know, circling back around to the holidays, it's like, make sure you have a support system in place. Make sure you've, if you're traveling, like there's certain apps that you can use that, excuse me, and most people are familiar with this, but it's like, look to see when the meetings are happening, or if they're online, and then like you know, be aware of the links that you need to use. Like, really prepare to have the support in place for when and if you're triggered. You may get through the holidays and everything might go fine. I mean, I don't want to say that's just as possible, because I don't think that's the case, but that could be me being a little bit jaded in my worldview. But yeah, it's just the more you can just set yourself up for success, meaning get the support system in place. Have people that have 2 or 3 men or women that you know you can call at any time if you're you know, feeling squirrely, and you know, or you're having cravings. Really try to pause when agitated, and do the contrary action I was talking about earlier. So if it's like, if you know, if you're thinking the best idea is to fight with your dad about something, like, try to approach that situation differently, and like try to connect with him on a level, rather than just like bitching about like dumb shit, you know, because I'm certainly guilty of still arguing with my family and things like that. My mom is chiming in again on this.
It's like your mom. Yes.
Let's see. Trisha Cockrell, who is my lovely mother, says, my favorite newly discovered quote: normal day, let me be aware of the treasure you are. Let me learn from you, love you, bless you before you depart. Let me not pass you by in the quest of some rare and perfect tomorrow. And that is a quote from Mary Jean Iron. And that's cool, because it's about presence, and really about being grateful and being present, which are synonymous, as we know. And I really am grateful that my mom's actually participating and chiming in. That's really awesome. And I'm really excited to see you tomorrow, Mom. So, yeah, it's, everything's good. It's just until it isn't, you know, it's, and it can creep up. We can, there's people that have long-term sobriety that are relapsing all the time. And, the first thing they talk about is like they quit going to their 12-step meetings. And
Right.
so it's just, for me, that's one of the most important elements. And I'm really grateful to even have the knowledge and the awareness to be able to even talk about this stuff, honestly.
Yeah, I think it's beautiful, man. I think it's a good. You're making such good points of, having a plan is where it's at. Having a plan. What's going to happen if? Like it's such a cliche, but it's like with if you're on a basketball team, what if this guy blocks you here? What do we do then? Like what's the game plan? So around the holidays, people need game plans. They need to. You need to start gamifying your life, especially around the holidays. Make it. Put a game plan together. Go, well, if I start feeling this way, I'm going to call this person. If I start feeling this way, I'm going to do this. Like you said, there's these different. You have activities you can do. You just have to gamify it. If it's writing it down on a list or getting a dry erase board, or like you said, there's so many. There's more than enough outlets for people. So just make a decision, because just make a decision. Go, this is my game plan. I'm gonna, I got 3 people I can call. So you got 3 to try that. Then if you're gonna be in a city, you'll go, okay, I know there's a meeting coming up, or I liked how you spoke about, you're saying if you're with your dad, if you're going to be around somebody, for example, if you're going to be around somebody you might argue with, you can prepare for that. And just make a decision going in, go, whatever, you just go, today, you just tell yourself, today, I'm just not going to argue. You know what I mean? Because the amazing thing about an argument is it takes 2 people. It takes 2. If one person decides they're not going to argue, like, you can't have it happen. Like, it just stops. And obviously that's not an easy thing to do, but if you game it, right, you could just say, normally this day, this is what happens, right? And I'm not gonna let it, I'm not gonna play, and whoever it is, when that happens, it's a new reaction, because you're coming in very passively, because it's going to come up, right? You're going to feel it. You're going to want to react, but you've already made a decision. The cool thing is you've already gamified it. You said, I'm not going to let this get to me today. Now, maybe next time, but I've decided right now, I'm stepping into this. I'm going to hold the reins, and we're going to have a different outcome, because you're going to have a different outcome then. So
yeah, and I think that kind of is a nice segue into what I wanted to touch on before we wrap this up. But
yes,
I think that if you can have these boundaries with your family and friends, and if things start to get heated, and if you're able to just step back and be like, okay, I'm gonna, like, I need to remove myself from this situation or this conversation, and we can revisit it. But it's, if you see it escalating, there's nothing wrong with protecting your space and protecting your energy, and removing yourself from a stressful conversation, or setting a healthy boundary with your family or your friends or whoever it may be escalating with, and just saying something like, okay, I'm really not comfortable right now continuing this conversation the way it's going. If we want to revisit it when we're not so angry or worked up, I'm open to that, but let's table it for now, and really, just remove yourself from the situation. And I mean, sometimes you can't remove yourself because your impulse kicks in and you're just gonna, like, fire back. But if you're practicing that awareness, you can, at some point, and this happens to me sometimes, like, I'll have to, like, if it's escalating, like, mid-sentence or something, I'm like, okay, I shouldn't have said that. That wasn't kind. I apologize, but I don't think that this conversation is productive right now. So let's continue it later. And there's nothing wrong with that at all.
Right. It's taking a pause. Yeah. It's always good.
Yeah.
If you want to take a pause, yeah, just like you said, let it honesty open, and just I'm going to take a pause. Maybe we'll really, yeah, that's self-awareness. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
And it's you're communicating. I think, again, setting up that game plan, right? So your game plan would be, like you said, talk to your relatives or whoever you're going to be with, so that, like, you know what I mean? Like, again, this communication, setting up the game plan. This might happen, so I'm going to go ahead and speak to this right now, so that we've already addressed it, right? So if it occurs, we've already, it'll be easier, right? It's a transition. Yeah, I think that's a brilliant thing, man.
And what I was talking about earlier, and what a lot of, like, if you're in early recovery and you're still in either treatment or sober living or working with someone like a case manager, what they'll have you do, and what they had me do early on, and what I would, if a sponsee asked me, it's just to, like, formulate a relapse prevention plan, which is, it encompasses everything that we talked about earlier, which is just like, okay, who are you going to call? If something comes up, how are you going to handle it? Do you have somewhere where you can kind of retreat to if things get too hairy? Can you, like, if it gets really bad, can you get to an airport to get out of town? Like, just covering, like, kind of covering some of the potential scenarios if you are super triggered, or, situations to avoid that might be triggering. Like, if you think that your friends are going to be blowing cocaine all night, maybe you're not equipped well enough, not to say that anyone's equipped well enough to be around a bunch of people doing blow, but it happens. Yeah, just, like, how to map out the best chance for you to succeed during the holidays. Relapse prevention plan. And there's templates for those. So it would be a matter of just, like, reaching out to someone that either works in the industry, or you could probably Google it, honestly, and it would give you point by point, like, things to consider, and, like, some phone numbers to write down, or no one writes down phone numbers anymore. So numbers to put in your phone, or whatever the case may be. It's just it's a matter of, like, having a system in place, being prepared, and being able to act if need be to protect your sobriety at all costs, really, because if you don't, everything's going to go to shit anyway.
Right. And, that's something maybe we could, after you get off here, you could send me, or we could just post in the comment section, either if there's a PDF about that, or a video you'd recommend that's speaking to that prevention, prevention there. I think if somebody was listening to that and they wanted to check that out, that would be awesome if it was kind of sitting here for them, make it easy for them, right?
Yeah, and most people that will have chimed in have my number, and I communicate with regularly, and
okay,
they know they can always reach out to me, and we can chat or text, and I'll send them any kind of resources that I have. So it's I'm really open with that kind of thing, and most people are very aware of it. So yep. That's
excellent, man. It looks like your friend Max is saying he appreciates your tips going into his first sober December.
Oh yeah. Well, I appreciate you too, Birdie, and I love you, man. And I think Evan's chiming in now.
Another friend. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. Well, Evan,
it's been great, man.
Look, Evan and Max were roommates for a while, so that's really cute that you guys are commenting one after another. Anyway, I don't have too much more to say. If you want to wrap it up.
I just want to say thanks, man. I think this is was a great episode, just to talk about sobriety and the holidays, and because it is something, it is a big deal, and it's nice that you could share some personal stories and give me some insight into that. And I really appreciate our time today, and I'm glad we got to do this. It's so nice to do this. I've been working on my book most of the day, and the problem with formatting and doing everything yourself. So this was, like, I was looking forward to this because it wasn't going to be, like, difficult. You know what I mean? Like, so I always have a good time with you. So thank you.
I think it's I was like, oh, we don't have a guest tonight. Maybe the flow will be a little off, but I thought the flow was great tonight. So I appreciate you and your time and all the efforts you put into this.
Thanks, man. Thanks. Well, I'll wrap it up here. So just so right now, this is our fourth Gratitude and Sobriety episode. So they're all sitting on Gratitude Spaces videos there. They're also, if you go to any podcasting app, you will find it, Gratitude Space Radio. You will see the 3 of them are up there, and Curtis's original interviews up there too. So if you're digging this, there's other stuff you can listen to that's very accessible at your fingertips. But I'm Chris with Curtis. We're just reminding you guys to go out there and put a game plan together. We want you to have an excellent holiday. The holidays can be wonderful with a little bit of preparation and mindset. So going into this coming week, just keep in mind that that is possible, even if you don't think it is. With some different mindsets and some game plans, you can have a great Thanksgiving. So if you are in a position where you get to sit down with family members or people that you love on Thanksgiving and have a meal, that is a really right there. You can just say, without any of the drama, you go, I'm grateful for this, because that is not a given, and there are a lot of people that do not have that. So I'm very grateful that I get to do. I'm going to do my father and my soon to be, actually I'll be married one day on Thanksgiving, so this day before. So on Thanksgiving, yeah, I'm very grateful I'll be with my wife and my father. It's going to be excellent. So I'm so fortunate. So I know I'm rambling now. So Curtis, thanks a lot, man, and we'll be back with you guys in 2 weeks for sure. That's the game plan. Next week, this time's going to be right in the middle of everything, but we'll ideally see you guys in a couple weeks. So thanks for staying with us, and Chris with Curtis just saying, remind everybody to stay grateful.
Thank you guys so much. Have a good holiday, and reach out if you need.